Officer Tom Sislak is the first witness of today's proceedings. He's asked by Tom Price KC Defence about a conversation between his client Julia Wandel, 24. I mean, she's only 24. I mean, that is young, isn't it? It is young. And, you know, she's obviously so unhappy being Julia. She just would like to be anybody else, wouldn't she? So but there's your first, I mean, she's 24, is still 2 years too old to be, 2 or 3 years too old to be Madeleine, isn't it? Because Madeleine would be 21, I think, now. So she's from Lubin in southwest Poland, and Surjit Singh, who's described as a publicist. So Singh, the court hears, claims to have broken dozens of big stories. Yeah. You know, they're all the big I ams, aren't they? All these, and they're all men. All these men, either the YouTubers or the bloody, this guy, they're all big I ams, aren't they? Yeah, he's broken dozens of big stories. Oh, yeah, I'm fantastic. And taken on the biggest newspapers in the land. They're all full of ego, aren't they? How brilliant they are. They discussed her taking a DNA test in an alleged attempt to prove she was Madeleine McCann, the court hears. And the conversation took place on the 3rd of December 2024. In it, he allegedly tells Wandel, once we do that and whether the aims match, whether the DNA matches or not, then we'll plan our next step. And Price says the conversation further goes, Singh, if your DNA doesn't match to them, then you can't be her. And she said, yes, I know. And according to that transcript, the pair then go on to discuss what could be done after the DNA test takes place. So at least he told her that if your DNA doesn't match, then you can't be her. Tom Price, KC for Defence, continues to discuss the relationship between the publicist Surjit Singh and Julia Wandel, which we touched on in the post just below this one. He says there were messages between the two in which Singh repeatedly reaffirmed his support for Wandel and even titled Son, you are Madeleine McCann. See how he's encouraging her in her delusion. I mean, this is what makes me angry about these people, because they've landed Julia in a position where she's probably going to go to prison because of them encouraging her in her delusions, instead of saying, until we get the DNA test, you know, we don't know that you are Madeleine. Or, oh, hang on a minute, how come you're 2 years older than Madeleine? Oh, how come, you know, your parents say you weren't adopted? She's not even adopted. She wants to have been adopted because she doesn't want to be Julia Wandel. She doesn't want to be her parents to be her parents. But there's no proof that she was adopted or anything. Do you know, it's like she's sort of created this delusion, and it's been encouraged by people like this. So Price adds that Singh presents himself as a competent, respected publisher. He adds that the defendant had a genuine and honestly held belief she is Madeleine McCann. And the court also hears that on the 14th of February this year, Singh said he believes DNA evidence is conclusive. But what DNA evidence? Does it just mean DNA evidence in general? Anyway. Simon Russell Flint, KC, defence for Karen Spragg. Now, we haven't heard that much from him. It's all mainly been about either the prosecution or Julia's defence. But of course, we must remember that Karen is also being charged. Karen by name, Karen by nature, 60-odd-year-old woman, encouraging this poor girl. So, as a reminder, Spragg, 61, is also accused of travelling to the home of Madeleine McCann's parents along with Julia Wandel. I mean, how would you even think about doing that? Whatever you thought, to actually go to their house, to me, that just straight away is stalking, because, and it's not as if she lived around the corner. She thought, oh, just pop round. She's gone all the way from Cardiff to stalk the McCanns. So on the morning of attending the McCann's family address, because they stalked the vigil, didn't they? So the McCanns can't even go to their own daughter's vigil. Spragg allegedly called Leicestershire police. She gave her name and she didn't want to give the details of her complaint over the telephone, and she said she wished to do so in person. However, he says she was told this wasn't possible. Instead, she was given details of Beaumont Leys police station. The court then heard that Spragg and Wandel arrived at the property around 30 minutes before Jerry and Kate got home. And Mr. Russell Flint says there's no proof that they were rummaging through the family's bins in this time. So I think there's been some accusations flung around that they were rummaging through the bins looking for something to test for DNA. But he is saying, Karen Spragg's defence lawyer says there's no proof that they were. I don't know. There she is. There she is. Karen by name, Karen by nature. Terrible that she's encouraged Julia, in my opinion. Anyway, then he moves on to discussing his client's arrest. He asks the day's first witness, police officer Tom Cieslak, whether there could have been an alternative to arresting Spragg. Instead, Russell Flint asks if police could have said, don't do this, don't contact the McCanns, and give her a warning that if she did do this again, she might be committing offence. Cieslak is also asked about the timings of the arrest. The court then moved on to discussing an interview that the co-defendant Karen Spragg did with the police. While he was questioning the policeman, Spragg's lawyer Simon Russell Flint said the officer tried to get her to speculate as to why the McCanns refused to take part in a DNA test. Russell Flint said that Spragg offered her reasoning for that, adding that she believed that this fanned the flames of suspicion. And the proceedings then move on to Spragg's second arrest. So, she was given a warning by being arrested once. I mean, and then she just went on, and carried on doing it. I mean, I do think they've all had a lot of warning. Hi, Paula. Hi, Emma from Wales. They had been warned before they were arrested. And when we listened to Kate and Jerry's testimony, of course, they were saying that they would not have gone to the police except they started on Amelie and Sean. That was the final straw. Cieslak says Spragg was arrested for a second time after reviewing messages on her phone. Why, if you wanted to question her further, would you not make an appointment? Russell Flint asks, calling into question the decision. Then Karen Spragg allegedly tried to add Madeleine McCann's mum to a group chat she was in. I just can't see how, whatever you thought, we're all interested in the Madeleine McCann case. It's one of the biggest mysteries, isn't it? It's a most high-profile case of its time. Missing child's case. It's international. And we're all interested in it. But would you try and do this? I mean, really? Her defence runs the court for a series of points to evidence that the jury has been provided. He says they tried to add Kate McCann. It wasn't accepted and nothing posted was ever seen. And so Spragg is accused of stalking the family, but she denies the charge. So then we heard from the prosecution again, which initially sticks to the same point the defence just raised. Simon said Kate McCann was never added to any group chat. The prosecution outlined some of the messages within that group as they tried to add her. Michael Duck, so childish. It always makes me smile every time I say that name. I don't, but what else can you say? That's his name. Tells the court one of the messages read, "Can you add Kate, please?" Moving on to some of the other messages shared between the defendants, Duck then says that Julia Wandel messaged Spragg about the alleged visit to the McCanns, and the court hears that Wandel told Spragg, "I need to make her see me and look at me." So, of course, they put, when the McCanns gave their testimony, the Jerry and Kate, they were there in the courtroom, but a blue curtain was put over them, so they didn't have to look at Julia and Karen. So policeman Tom Sislick is still in the witness box and now facing questions from the prosecution about Surjit Singh. He is described as a publicist who supported Julia. He is said to advised her about how to build her online presence. I mean, one thing you can say that he was successful in was helping Julia to build her online presence. I mean, she was all over everything, Facebook, all social media, YouTube's, you name it. So the court hears that Wandel provided him with DNA, eye matching, voice matching, teeth matching, and health records. And then it's shown a transcript of the call between the two. And the court is told that Singh says, "You're just giving the game away. You're like a chess player who's telling everybody what your next move is going to be." And according to the transcript, he says, "I want you to keep your chin up, okay?" I mean, why is he not being prosecuted with something? Why is it the women that he's encouraged to stalk? You know, he should face some consequences. In fact, the YouTubers that encourage her, they should face consequences as well. You know, they shouldn't be able to just, encourage people, deluded people. So the comments are made in reference to Wandel's repeated online posts the court hears. And Singh, the jury hears, asks her to do nothing for a few weeks. Then the junior counsel for the prosecution goes on to tell the court about a conversation that the defendant had with ChatGPT. And we saw that. We watched that the video where it was said about that. Julia asked ChatGPT if she could be Madeleine McCann, and they said that she could be. So that, so it must be true. So the court hears that a conversation between Wandel and the AI chatbot took place on 31st of January this year over a 7-minute period starting just before 2 a.m. And Wandel's first message is said to be Caitlin Selena Rivera missing girl. This is a young girl who went missing in Pennsylvania in 1999. And then she thought she was her as well. Julia just doesn't want to be Julia. She doesn't, she could be, she wants to be anyone except Julia, doesn't she? Anyone will do, anyone she can find. It's sad. She doesn't want to be Julia Wandel. She wants to be Madeleine, or if she can't be Madeleine, she'll be Caitlin, she'll be anybody rather than Julia. So she asked the chatbot about a specific birthmark that Rivera had, and the AI told Wandel that Rivera had a birthmark on her back near her left shoulder blade. I mean, the one thing that we do know is she can't be both. She can either be, she could be Madeleine McCann, or she could be the other girl, but she can't be both of them. So the prosecution continues to address the court, moves on to a conversation between Karen Spragg and YouTuber Steve Dempster. I haven't got a clue who he is, so he didn't do very well raising his profile. Do any of you know that YouTube channel? I know we don't talk about YouTube channels on my channel, but if any of you know that channel, let me know. I don't mind you saying it because I haven't got a clue who he is. So he interviewed Julia Wandel. I know lots of others have, and as I say, they're all men. They've passed Julia around. It's almost like exploitation to me. It's almost like, oh yeah, you have an interview with Julia. Oh, I've done that. Right, go on, you can have her for this interview. It's horrible. It's like she's been shared around. It's revolting what they've done to this woman, I think. All in cahoots, like passing her around. Horrible. Anyway, the court hears, Spragg says that rules were needed for Wandel because she wanted to find Kate. And the court hears that Dempster then tells Spragg, make sure she does it right. She's got one chance at this. Spragg says, can you try and convince her that going to Kate isn't the right idea? I think she needs to be patient. Turning up at their house and work is not a good idea. So you were right, Karen, but you ended up going with her. Why didn't you just say you wouldn't go with her? And she adds, I don't think she should go to Leicester, but Julia is Julia, and she thinks Kate will help her. I don't think she will. Of course, it's Leicester, not Scotland, that they live. I always think they live in Scotland. I don't know why. It's because Jerry's Scottish, I suppose. But yeah, it's still not just round the corner, is it, from where Karen lives? They had to make a trip to go there. So she adds, I don't think she should go to Leicester, but Julia is Julia, and she thinks Kate will help her. I don't think she will. Instead, the two suggested getting a DNA test and trying to get a reporter interested. Then they broke for lunch. Let's see, I'm not going to do the recap. So this is interesting. So apparently she wanted to be an X-ray technician, but ended up quitting university. So anyway, so this is her testimony. But what we're going to hear now is what Julia had to say. Let's see. So started with the defense clarifying a few facts about Julia, including confirming she grew up in Wrocław, which of course is Poland. She's also asked about the secondary school she went to and her education. I wanted to become an X-ray technician, she says, of her desire to go to medical school. Because my father and his wife worked in this profession, that's why I wanted to try, she says. She later quit the course and in 2023 applied to study criminology at university, she adds. I was accepted and I started this in October 2023, but because of my personal journey, I decided to resign from the university. So because of her personal journey, what, because she was trying to prove she was Madeleine McCann? Anyway, she then is asked about her parents, who she says are now separated, and her family. And she's asked, do you believe that you are their daughter? She says no. When asked what led her to believe this, she explains, when I was a teenager, I started therapy because of extreme levels of self-harm. This, she says, led her to believe this, as well as differences between her and her mother's appearances. My mother has natural brown hair and brown eyes, she says. My father has dark hair, now they're grey, but he had dark hair and brown eyes as well. Now, you know what it's like for teenagers. Sometimes they don't even grow out of it. They're always resentful towards their parents, aren't they? Or often. I shouldn't say always, because not all teenagers are. But, there's probably a lot of times when teenagers wish they were adopted, because you just don't realise until you're older, the things about, you're so critical of your parents when you're a teenager, aren't you? Everything they do is wrong. You can't see things from any other point of view except your own. So Julie won't be the first teenager who thought, oh God, I'm not part of this family, you know, they're different to me or whatever. But she's just took it to extremes, hasn't she? Normally, as time goes on, I mean, she's still quite young. She's only 24, isn't she? So she is still quite young. Maybe by the time she gets to 30, she might appreciate her parents a bit more. Let's hope so. Or certainly old, it might even be older than that. Might even be she won't appreciate them until she has children of her own and realizes how bloody difficult it is bringing up children. So, you know, anyway, so her one of her reasons for not thinking she is their daughter is because she thinks she doesn't look enough like them. And she tells the court she has a few memories from school, but these start at around 8 or 9 years old. And she said that she'd asked her parents for childhood photos for a long time, but they wouldn't show her. You know, what's she saying? That they've got photos, but they won't show her, or they haven't got any photos of her when she was a child? You know, there might just be parents that didn't take many photos. I think what people tend to do, anyway, I'm only going by it. You know, when your child's first born, you do take a lot of photos, don't you? You know, baby pictures. What I've noticed, if I put all my photos of my son, you know, you notice that they start off so prolific, loads and loads and loads. And then as they get older, they do get less and less. And half of that is because they don't want their photo taken. You know, when they're kids, little kids, they don't have a choice. They're just like, oh, you know, smile. And as they get older, it's like, oh, don't take my photo. I don't want my photo taken. And then by the time they're teenagers, you're lucky if you can get them on a photo at all. So I don't know if that's what's happened with Julia. I don't know. Has she not done a DNA test with her parents? Wouldn't that be what I don't understand? Oh, so here she's saying, she then tells Leicester Crown Court she tried to get hold of her birth certificate, and she says she asked her parents many times, but they never wanted to provide me with it. And Julia told the court she wanted it because she believed she was adopted. And she says she was told she wasn't adopted, but this made her question more. And describing an interaction with a local official, she says, she told me my parents were my parents and I wasn't adopted. Well, there you go. So surely, if you were thinking you weren't your parents' child, the first thing you would do is a DNA test with them, isn't it? Before you started demanding complete strangers of a DNA test. Anyway, she says she discussed DNA with her parents many times, and she asked them for a test plenty of times, but they always refused to give her a DNA test. I don't think I believe that. I'd like to hear her parents' side of it. It made me feel a bit surprised because I didn't expect them to refuse, especially because at that time I still dealt with a lot of emotional problems. I think these parents have probably gone through hell with Julia. She says she called the registry in the city where she was born, to get a copy of her birth certificate, but she was told straight away she wasn't adopted. That made me question even more because in Poland, this official institution, they're not allowed to give this personal information without verification. Do you know, it doesn't matter what you say to Julia. I think this is what I've said. You know, if tomorrow Madeleine McCann walked in through the door of that courtroom and said, I'm Madeleine, Julia would still be saying, oh, I want a DNA test. I mean, she has had a DNA test now, but of course she still doesn't accept it. She's not going, you know, she's so determined. She's so obsessed. She's never going to change her thoughts. You know, if this, she'll end up trying to prove she's somebody else. If it was ever proven that she wasn't Madeleine, which I believe it has been personally, she'd try to be someone else, you know, because she just doesn't want to be Julia. So the court hears that after seeing a psychologist, she began to question her identity, and she tells the court of her struggles with her mental health and self-harm. growing up, which led to her going in and out of therapy. And she's asked by defence counsel Tom Price-Cusey about one therapist in particular. As a consequence of that psychologist, did you start to question aspects of your life? To which she replies, yes. It is directly connected, she later adds after further questions. She offers no more information on the specific psychologist, apart from that it was a woman. I started with asking questions because I just could not believe there was nothing else in the story of what happened to me. I started asking my parents about everything. What are your blood groups? Is there anything else that happened to me you don't tell me about? And she said that she still questions her identity today. So don't forget this. So what she did then, she started looking through missing persons databases for anyone that she could possibly be. So far, all the questioning has been about how she became to dispute her identity and what she did. And she tells her counsel she decided to check out missing persons databases to see if any were my kind of age and of a similar appearance. I mean, why would you do that? You know, she's found out, she's been told she's not adopted, first of all by her parents, then by officialdom. And now she's not only thinking she's adopted, but she can't just be any old adopted person. Do you know what I mean? She has to be a missing person. She has to have been abducted and, you know, sold into a family or whatever. You know, it's I think even people who know they're adopted don't normally do that, do they? Go through missing persons databases to try and find someone who fits with them or whatever. Anyway, the jury's told her different databases she went through and how she conducted her searches. There were a lot of people around my age, she says. And she explained she came across one name, Acacia Bishop, that she researched more into, at one point thinking she may have a connection to her. And she adds, I thought maybe I should check out some other missing children. Dear me. So she says she first became aware of Madeleine McCann in June 2022. So not that long ago, because of course she is young, so she won't remember when it first happened. And, you know, so she first became aware of Madeleine McCann in June 2022 when in hospital. She came across the missing English toddler by searching on missing persons databases with an age range of 3 years plus or minus her age. And she describes how she found the website relating to the girl's disappearance, and she joined Facebook groups dedicated to Madeleine McCann. And she said there were a lot of people talking about a lot of theories in the groups. And she said she found indicators on the website that led her to think she was Madeleine McCann. And she says her motivation was, I just wanted to find out who I am. So then she contacted Operation Grange, which is the police operation, and she said, hello, I'm writing to you because I think I could be Madeleine McCann. The reason why I think I could be Maddie, one, I saw the pictures when I was younger. I had the mark on my eye. It's a little faded now. She then goes on to cite several further reasons why she believes she may be Madeleine, and these include her documents might be faked and she may actually be younger, that her parents wouldn't show her her birth certificate, and a lack of memories before she was 9. And the court hears this isn't the first time she tried to contact Operation Grange because she thought she could be Madeleine. So she then attempted to contact Kate and Jerry McCann in 2022. She phoned a hospital in Leicester to try and get to them. And she says the reason she contacted the hospital was because she was ignored by the police. I admit I contacted the hospital, but the reason was because the police wouldn't help me, she says. The call lasted more than 20 minutes, the court hears. So that's when it really properly started, isn't it? So the court heard that Julia attempted to contact embassies, ministries, journalists, private detectives across the UK, Portugal and Poland, as she believes she may be Madeleine. And she says she did this because I did not want to contact Kate and Jerry and the McCann family until I contacted every single person I can. I did everything before. While she faced questions from Tom Price, she was asked about all the places she reached out to by email or phone. A British investigative journalist, I wonder who that was, that could have been Mark Williams-Twonk, German police, and a number of missing persons groups. Yeah, I wonder who that British investigative journalist might have been. That seems to be going back to the beginning again. So the court restarted again with Julia asked about more people she had contacted. She said, I called the hospital many times without a positive effect. And the court also hears that she called a friend of the McCann's parents. She found them on Facebook. She also contacted Belgian Interpol and a university academic in Wroclaw. She repeatedly reached out to Operation Grange, and in one email to them, she said, hello, I have a question. Does Madeleine have any birth spots on her body? And this was asked to see if she could match her own marks to what she believed Madeleine McCann had. And in a separate message, she added, I had very similar eyes to Madeleine. Please tell me, can I be Madeleine? I know it sounds a bit weird, but I think I could be Madeleine McCann. So, yeah, he's just really going over what she said. Now, apparently, according to Martin Brunt, she said she was abused by an elderly relative, a man her father told her had once kidnapped someone. She said she began to think she might have been abducted and started researching missing person websites. And so her lawyer asked her, were you attracted to the Madeleine case because of the publicity? And she said, no. Were you attracted by the possibility of making financial gain? And she said, no. So she was asked, what was your interest? And she said, I just wanted to find out who I am. And she later discovered her abuser shared the same surname as a previous suspect in the Madeleine case. And that was a big factor for her, she told the court. And you know what? This is the girl at the centre of all this. This is really, this girl, frozen in time, isn't she? 3 years old, never been seen since. There'll be no new photos of Madeleine. So she said, I tried to contact them many times. I just wanted to try everything, every institution before getting in touch with them directly. That was a funny message that just came on my phone. So Wendell appeared to accept she wasn't Madeleine at first. But when she was told by an officer they didn't think she was Madeleine, the court hears she did not accept this opinion. However, she contests what took place and she frames herself as a victim in need of help. She says, I don't think this ever took place, and if it did, I don't ever recall it, she tells the jury. And she repeats her claim that she pursued all this because she wanted to know, and she would have happily accepted the result a DNA test. Well, that's not actually true, because a DNA test was done when she was arrested this year, but she is still not accepting it, is she? Yeah, I don't, anyway, never mind. I don't think best move on from that picture. Hey, Angel. Hi, Shay. So, she then goes on to talk about the first time she reached out to Jerry McCann. She says it was June 2022. I thought the police would help, and after all this time trying to get help from them, I realised they would not help. So at that time, I thought the journalists are here to tell the truth. She messaged Jerry McCann on 9th of June 2023. She says, I think they deserve to know the truth. She says, interrupting her own counsel to later add, I even have sympathy for them. They look for their child, I look for my parents. And when she was asked if she disliked Jerry and Kate, she said, no. I always defended them. I even now defend them. And she says she never meant them any harm. Dear me. So the court then hears about her reaching out to contact Amelie, Madeleine McCann's sister. She says she thinks she found Amelie through Facebook, but wasn't sure if it was her at first. And she sent the message, I'm not sure you'll answer me. I'm the girl who went viral. Oh, for God's sake. I'm the girl who went viral. I mean, that's just... Again, it's just like boasting almost, isn't it? For saying she was Madeleine McCann. And in her message to Amelie, she makes a series of claims about being Madeleine McCann. She says she went to hypnosis, which she says led to memories. I know what happened. I really know. I think you're my only hope. The court is told, believe me, please, that's all I'm asking for. She's awful, really. I go through round in this circle of feeling sorry for her, and then when I hear these things that she's saying, the way she said them, I just think, oh, for God's sake. Anyway, the message ends with Wandel asking Amelie to contact her. She gives her a phone number. And of course, Amelie did not contact her. And just before court wrapped up for the day, she said she believed the police are not interested in finding Madeleine. She contacted Jerry directly in June 2023, around a year after she claimed she first believed she could be their daughter. And when she was asked why she contacted him directly, she replied, because I think they were misled because if the police treated their daughter's case the way they treated me, I'm not surprised they didn't find their daughter. And I think they should know, because my case is just an example of how police are still abusing cases. It's 18 years since Madeleine disappeared. The police are not interested in finding Kate and Jerry's daughter. That is my opinion. And asked about the hate she's received, she says there was a bounty on her head. I don't know if it was a joke, but someone did this, she added. Second thing, I was getting a lot of hate, people wishing I would die. Well, that's not right, is it? You wouldn't wish that on her. But of course you're going to get a lot of hate. She's on social media. She went viral, according to her, but not everybody's going to agree with her. But of course it's not right to say things like that to her. Sorry, I just got to look at this. Sorry. Okay, nothing interesting, just money being taken out for something else. Nobody ever gives you money for this, always just goes. So that's what she thinks, that the police are not interested in finding Madeleine. The thing is, the police know she is not Madeleine. That's really what it comes down to, isn't it? Let's have a look at this video.
At Do You Spain, you have the perfect hire car at just one click. Book your hire car in 3 minutes at the best price guaranteed.
Well, Julia Wandelt is the first defence witness, and she was called just after lunchtime for the start of the defence case, and she walked very purposely from the dock to the witness box, and for the past 2 hours has been answering questions from her own lawyer very confidently and in very good accented English. She was one of the first things that she was asked by her lawyer was whether she still felt that she was her parents were her true parents, her Polish parents, and she said that she still today didn't believe that they were. They had different hair and eye colourings, she said. That was one of the first things they noticed. She noticed. They didn't talk to her about her childhood when she became a teenager. They didn't show her.
Well, you know, my dad was blonde. I mean, you're probably thinking, oh, you're blonde. I wasn't blonde when I've gone blonde. It's grey, really, and a little bit of blonde from living in Spain for so many years. My hair is just bleached out completely. But I know I was dark. My mum was dark. But then my mum had brown eyes. My dad had blue eyes and blonde hair. And I was dark, but I had like grey eyes. You know, people don't always look exactly like their parents, do they?
Her family photographs, she said. She never saw her birth certificate. And when she asked more questions and even asked them to take a DNA test to establish their relationship, her parents, she said, refused to do that. She then went on to talk about how she was abused, she said, as a child.
Now, I don't know why they refused to do a DNA test. It just seems to me a bit, you know, everyone sort of saying, well, why don't Kate and Jerry just do a DNA test? But, you know, at the end of the day, why don't her parents just do it to shut her up, you know? And because this all gives her food, if you like, into her claim that she's adopted. Every time they say they're probably like, we're not doing a bloody DNA test. I'm just thinking, if I would have asked my dad for a DNA test, I'd go, bloody, what the bloody hell are you talking about, love? It would have been, you know, I don't think he would have gone for a DNA test. You know, you can imagine them saying it, can't you? What do you mean a bloody DNA test? I'm not doing a DNA test. You know. And this about she wouldn't show that they won't show her her birth certificate. I said, you can apply for a copy of your birth certificate. You know, she's an adult. She could just apply for a copy of her birth certificate. She doesn't have to get one off her parents. So, you know, I just don't believe this.
By an elderly relative, a man who was later convicted in court, and a man, she said her father told her, had once abducted somebody. So she began, she said, to suspect that she might be an abducted missing person. So she started to research cases of missing people. That's when she said she came across the case of Madeleine McCann, at which point her lawyer asked her, had she chosen that case for publicity? No, she said. Had she chosen it for financial gain? No, she said. I just wanted to know who I am. She later discovered that her abuser...
Yeah, that's a very good point, Shay. How did she get a passport to go to Britain if she hadn't got a birth certificate? She must have... You can't just, you know, you need a birth certificate to get a passport. So at some point, she must have had access to her birth certificate. That's a good point. How has she ended? Because, you know, you do know it's not free movement, is it? So you can't travel to Britain without a passport. So how has she got there? Why, you think the bloody prosecution lawyer would ask that? You should be a prosecution lawyer, Shay. You know, that's a very good point. Why didn't they say to her, how did you get a passport?
Shared the same surname as one of the early suspects in the Madeleine McCann case. That, she said, for her was a big factor. Her lawyer then said that she had contacted lots of organisations, police forces, embassies in Germany and Portugal and England and in Poland, and a number of journalists and private investigators in her search for her background. Why so many had she contacted, the lawyer asked. She said that she didn't at that stage want to go directly to the McCanns to ask them if she might be Madeleine, because she felt that that would upset them. And it might give them false hope, she said. In the last few minutes, her lawyer said that Scotland Yard detectives later told her that she wasn't Madeleine McCann, and she hadn't appeared to accept that. She told the court in the last few minutes that she didn't recall that telephone call. Now, Julia Wandel is likely to spend the rest of the day and probably sometime tomorrow in the witness box.
Yeah, and I tell you, this girl, she's going to end up with some prison time. I feel for her, but she was given a lot of warnings, I think. So it's back on today. So that was yesterday. Proceedings have just begun. And she's, she's facing questions, this time from her defence counsel. And the defence begins by running through a series of messages she sent to friends of the McCann family. And one of them, the court hears read, "Please help me. I've tried everything to contact Kate, Jerry, Amelie. I don't care about any money or publicity." On this, Price asks why she brings up money and if she received any. And Wandel initially says no, but under further questioning says she did receive money on occasion. But she says she used it to try and help her efforts looking into her identity. So where would she receive money from? Anyway, my friends advised me to ask people for help. I felt bad about this, especially. This is not their life. I should be able to take care of myself. I'm ashamed of this because I know what it looks like. I did not want to end up homeless on the street with my boyfriend telling me I have to move out straight away. And the court hears she received about £400. Well, it's not loads of money, is it? I mean, it's a lot of money, of course, but, not life-changing amount, is it? So she had a boyfriend at the time, and he's told her to move. He's probably sick of it. It's like, I do, again, I'm feeling sorry for her again now. That might change. I go through this feeling sorry for her, don't feel sorry for her, feeling sorry for her, don't. I do think she's been manipulated by people who should know better. But I do think she's obsessed and she doesn't really care about anybody else's feelings. So then he goes on to talk about more of the messages that she sent to people around the McCann family. And in one of the messages to someone named in court as David Payne, she says, "I can't contact them in any way. There's no way to contact them." And the court hears she adds, "I asked so many times for help." And in response, Payne says, "I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. I don't know. You're just calling me randomly." And she says, "All doors are closed, all doors are closed. Police don't want to help me." And she then explains why she went social media with her claims. And she says, "The reason I went social media with all these things was because the police ignored me." Now, the police did not ignore her. They did not ignore her. They just told her she is not Madeleine McCann. So that's what Julia calls ignoring her. Not, what, I suppose if you turn around and say, "Oh yeah, you are Madeleine," what would she be taken aback, wouldn't she? Because she's like just constantly on this mantra, "I'm Madeleine, prove I'm Madeleine, help me." She throws herself on people's mercy, like she's the victim. And then she says they were ignoring her, but they didn't ignore her. But it gets to a point when how many times can they tell her she is not Madeleine McCann? And then they probably did start ignoring her, but they didn't ignore her in the beginning. She says, I truly believe I might be Madeleine. Could you get me in touch with them in any way? So she uses other people as well, emotional blackmail, to try and get in touch with the McCanns. So apparently she flew to the US for a DNA test, but ended up on a talk show. She tells the court she flew out to meet with Dr. Thea Johansson, with whom she stayed in Orange County, Los Angeles. She said that Johansson contacted her when she made an Instagram account called I Am Madeleine McCann before they went to the US together. She said she's another one. She said she would be able to help me. A lot of people were warning me, saying it could be dangerous. I was desperate. She said she's in touch with Kate and Jerry McCann, and they agreed for a DNA test with me. And her defense lawyer, Tom Price, said, did you believe her? And she said yes. She came to Poland. She flew from the United States. It should have been a red flag to me, but it wasn't at the time. She took over my Instagram account even before she came to Poland. However, in the US, Wandel claims, Johansson's attitude changed and she did not organise a DNA test. Instead, she claims that she asked about her making a documentary and helped facilitate her appearance on Dr. Phil. Has she been on Dr. Phil? God. Oh my God. He's another one then, using her. She says she was not paid for this appearance. I don't know that I believe that. But anyway, maybe not. I mean, how did she pay for her trip to the US? You know, that won't have been cheap, will it? So where's she got the money from? Where she got the money from for her trip to the UK when she got arrested? Where she got her money from the trip to the UK when she went to visit Jerry and Kate? Where has she got any of her money from? Because I don't think she works, does she? So she then left the US, flying back to Europe, and in court she appears to get upset once more. And that's the other thing, she starts crying whenever things aren't going her way. She starts crying, and then people feel bad for her. But does she feel bad for Jerry and Kate and for Amelie and Sean? Probably not. Yeah. So she then left before leaving, she said she signed documents with Johansson, including giving her fingerprints, but she didn't know what she had signed. She then left the US, flying back to Europe. And in court, she appears to get upset once more, and her defense counsel tells her to take a moment. So we are back. We're back at the court case. Julia was testifying, so they've just had a short break, but they're back. And let's see, proceedings. The judge has retaken her seat and proceedings have resumed in the trial. So where were we up to? Yesterday afternoon and this morning, we've been hearing from Julia Wendell under questioning from her own defence. And now this is continuing with the prosecution expected to take over later. And so the latest update, which was only 2 minutes ago, the court hears details of Wandel's message to Kate McCann. So just before the court took a break, see what time I'm going to have to take a break in a minute. The court was told, hang on. The court was told about a voice message that Julia Wandel left for Kate McCann, Madeleine's mother. And the court heard yesterday of the 24-year-old Polish woman's attempts to contact dozens of institutions about her claims. Today it has moved on to her attempts to contact the McCann family. She tried to call Madeleine McCann's mother, leaving a message. Defence counsel Tom Price, QC, reads out some parts of her message. Hi, it's me, Julia. I know you don't want to speak to me. I don't know why. I don't understand this. I just need one call with you, that's all. Now, we all know it wouldn't have just been one call, would it? I don't need anything else, and I can promise that if after the call you're not able to speak to me, I will not bother you. I just want to tell you what I remember. You can decide if you want to do a DNA test or not. I'm not crazy. I just want you to know that I never lied. I don't want money. All I need is one call with you. Now, we know that it wouldn't be just one call, would it? Because it'd be one call. She'd speak to Kate. Kate would say to her, oh, I've lost one of my earrings. Kate would say to her, I know you're not Madeleine. And Julie would say, oh, just listen to me. Oh, God, my earring fell out. She would say to her, oh, just listen to me. I am Madeleine. Can we have a DNA test? And it wouldn't matter. How's that fallen off? It wouldn't matter what Kate said. Julia would not be happy with what Kate said unless Kate said, oh, you are my daughter. So, it wouldn't be one phone call, would it? It would be many phone calls and it wouldn't stop, So anyway, then apparently she was asked about contact with her co-defendant, Karen Spragg, and defence counsel Tom Price moves on to discussing contact Julia had with Kate McCann. So, as far as Karen Spragg was concerned, Wandelt says they were talking daily and discussing everything. Then she explains why she reached out to Kate McCann in April 2024, getting her phone number from the Portuguese side. God, how did she do that? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? The Portuguese today, the Portuguese police are very down on the McCanns, aren't they? Makes you wonder if they give her the number like to cause trouble or whatever. Asked if she was aware that the topic of Madeleine was a sensitive one for the parents, Julia says yes, and she insists she never intended to cause harm to the McCann family. And Wandelt claims that she believed reaching out would be helpful. And she tells the jury, I got the impression that police did not pass any information to Kate and Jerry. I just thought they were misled and I just wanted to explain. Now, I'm going to have to go in a minute because I've got to go and have my lunch, etc. And now I'll be either back later today with the rest of it or I'll be back tomorrow with it, but definitely we'll be carrying on bringing you the information from this trial. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to go on for. It'd be interesting to see the prosecution cross-examining Julia. I think she'll start crying again, won't she? Because so far it's the defence and she's getting an easy ride, isn't she, from her own defence? But when the prosecution starts, she won't get an easy ride. So, she's bound to start crying. I think you can be 99% certain Julia is going to start crying when she starts getting cross-examined, isn't she? But anyway. So, thank you for watching. And yeah, I'm going to go get some lunch. But I'll be back. And I hope you're all well and fine. You're all looking after yourself. It's interesting, this court case, isn't it? Because I know a lot of people saying, oh, it's a waste of money. And it is a waste of money, I think. And it's a waste of time or whatever. The thing is, the reason it's come to a court case, I don't think Jerry and Kate wanted it to go to a court case. The reason it's come to a court case is because she started on Amelie and Sean. So she's really only got herself to blame. I believe there's not a way in the world that Jerry would have wanted this attention again, because they've gone up, they don't want attention now, didn't they? They wanted all that attention in the early days. But I think now, they don't do interviews, they don't want any attention, but they've been sort of driven to this. I do believe that they have because of Julia's and Karen's then trying to contact Sean and Amelie, and they've drawn a line in the sand there, haven't they? Now, it may be a good thing. I mean, it may, bring things up again and I don't know, get the attention on the case again. And sometimes I do wonder if the Operation Grange, what are they, you know, what are the lines of inquiry? Like they said, they've got lines of inquiry going on. Now, do they mean Christian B? Do they mean somebody else completely? Or are they you know, this case is not closed. Madeleine has not been found. And maybe never will be, bless her. But, you know, it makes you wonder with Julia, maybe it's a good thing that it's brought everything to out into the open again. But I do feel that she's going to get some prison time, which is a shame. But